Hi, hi. Hisoka is sneaky. Okay. I'm gonna get to see much more of him. Tonpa. And the brothers. See, at some point the hunters are going to turn on each other, right? Try to eliminate the numbers. This allows it. The cover of fog. Yeah, right. Good luck. You're as good as gone. He knows it's coming too. He's probably hoping for it. Is another reason. Yay. It's not something he's encountered, but... Yeah. I love his voice acting. Oh god. They might get caught up in this. He stuck it to his chest. It's not the best strategy, yeah. Oh my god. Alright. That'll do it. Oh, didn't I see this in the opening? The intro to like being a hunter and the exotic animals. Back to back, back to back. Oh, I like this. Oh no. They should really cut down the numbers, huh? Claymore mushrooms, ha! Oof. Oh boy. It's got some, yeah, it's some magic dust thing going on here. Hypnosis butterfly. I love how I'm getting little details about them. That might be one of the monkeys. Oh no. Off the cliff. Oh my god. Big ass frog. Go on, give us a name. Gotta love that. This frog's about to get ripped open. Ooh, poison? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's not like gone, is it? Ooh, is that Hisoka? It is. Oh my god, this might be quite the scene, quite the sight. Oh, okay, I thought maybe he already took care of them. Yeah, you've just given it to him. Is there a story behind those tattoos, perhaps? Or is that just like a character design thing? Got a bunch of red shirts. Ooh, great shot. Perfect circle.
さて君たちもやる
No, 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 no.
試験看護っこ
私が合図したら左右バラバラに逃げるんだ。
何
奴と我々では
Oh,
実
yeah.
践経験におい
Oh,
て
yeah.
天と地ほどの差がある。二人まとめてかかっても勝ち目はない。
Yeah. Whoa.
今だ。
なるほど賢明な判断だ
売られた喧嘩じゃねえにしても何にもしねえで逃げるなんて
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe he can at least appreciate. Look at his build. Skinny dude. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Who's gonna jump in? God. Oh, landed. Scratched him
間に合った。
just in time.
やるね坊やそれ釣り竿面白い武器
Yeah.
見せてよそれ
てめえの相手は俺だ
God damn, this dude is. I mean, not untouchable. Gon did scratch him, but
仲間を
still.
助けに来たのかい
Sure did.
いい子だね
Oh my god.
ゾクゾクしてきたよ
Oh my god. Look at this shot.
いい顔だ
Oh. Interesting.
君の仲間は殺しちゃいないよ彼は合格だから
Stood his ground, came back.
うん君も合格いいハンターになりなよ
久がそろそろ戻ってくる
Ah.
二次会場に着くみたいだぜ
お互い持つべきものは仲間だね一人でも戻れるねいい子だ
Interesting.
大丈夫か。
Ooh, Gon is rattled.
あれ
Interesting.
ゴンのやつやっ
301?
ぱりいないな。密かが言ってた合格ってどういう意味だと思う？
密かは審査していたのかもしれないな。奴の中に奴なりの強さの基準があって、それで受験者たちの力量を測っていたのかもしれない。ゴンとレオリオはその基準をクリアしたということなのだろ
う。でも俺密かに何もできなかったよ。
It wasn't that though, it was that
最初あいつに一発食らわせたんだろ。
あれは
he
不意打ち
stood
だ
up
った
for his
し、
friend.
それにレオリオは倒されたのに、それでも合格だって。
おそらく自分と似た匂いを感じ取ったんじゃないか。
匂い？
密かにハンターの資格があるとは私は絶対に思わない。あの超人的な身のこなし、華麗なる技、見事と認めざるを得ない。得意な能力を持つ者が同じような才能の持ち主を発掘することはなく、多分密かなりの勘や経験で二人にハンターとしての素質や将来性を感じたのではないか。今殺すには惜しい、そんな風に考えたのかもしれないな。
でも俺あの時ワクワクしたんだ。
え？
怖くて逃げ出したいって思ったけどそれもできなくて、でもワクワクしたんだ。変だよね。
生まれて初めて体験した死の恐怖。
And it was quite the
その
experience.
中で芽生えた不思議な気持ちに戸惑いを覚えながらも、ゴンは湧き上がってくる好奇心を抑えられずにいた。残り148名。
That's great. Look at that frame. Okay, episode 5, as promised, the swamp certainly lights up, doesn't it? I mean, all the residents come out to play. And, at one point of the episode, I said, essentially it's just their home, right? And they happen to be crossing. They happen to be passing by. So, yeah, it gets a bit dicey. But, I must admit, it's a bit jarring or a little bit, I don't know, uncanny to not see blood in any of these situations. You've got people just falling off cliffs and getting impaled by these massive spikes, right? You've got Hisoka, goated. I mean, Hisoka is based. I mean, I really enjoyed the focus on Hisoka, of course. And, the thing I really like here about this anime is, of course, the ensemble cast here just by episode 5 is so strong, right? And fantastic character dynamics. So unique in their own right. And the thing I love is that each one of them gets to shine, right? There's a distinct focus on each one of them. Maybe Killua, not as much because he just recently kind of joined. I mean, Hisoka also recently just kind of, they both had their first appearance in the same episode, but I certainly do want to get to know Killua a bit more as well, and I'm sure I'll get to know him. Again, it's a long series. There's a lot of time, a lot of episodes to explore all of these characters and their character dynamics and relationships. I mean, Killua, it's clear that he doesn't have much interest in the other two, right? Kurapika and Leorio. At all times, you'll see Gon's thinking about the other two, just thinking about them, right? Because, of course, Gon's loyal. Even though they just met recently, he has this attachment to them, right? So he's always thinking about them. But you'll see that Killua almost immediately just implores him to, they'll be fine, forget about them, let's just keep going, right? So it's, I don't know, I think possessive is a bit of a strong term, especially because he's just the same age as Gon as well. It really feels like that Killua has latched on to Gon, right? And Kurapika said something a little bit later, near the conclusion of the episode, right? Interesting scene, and I'll kind of cover that in detail in a bit, but he mentioned the notion of kindred spirits, right? I mean, at that point, he's speaking of Hisoka possibly thinking that maybe Gon and perhaps even Leorio might be kindred spirits, or Hisoka might think they are kindred spirits, and that in itself is interesting to say the least, given everything I've seen of Hisoka in this episode. I mean, he's easily one of the most exciting and intriguing characters of this anime so far, So, of course, it was incredibly exciting to, first of all, see that title drop. Hisoka is sneaky. And then, of course, the focus on Hisoka throughout this episode. And I'm sure, in the next episode or the next few episodes, the focus is going to shift around as well. I'm sure I'll get my Killua episode as well soon enough to learn more about him and his killer instinct. There's that one moment as he kind of clocks or senses or just picks up on, Hisoka's energy or his aura. Right, he just knows this man is bad news, and immediately makes the choice to kind of disengage or at least create some distance, right? And that tight shot of him, those cat-like eyes, right? Is there a story behind that? His look, right? His past, his connections, his family. So yeah, Killua is certainly next on the list, I'd say, in terms of a deeper focus that I would love to have on a character. But going back to my point about the absence of blood in this, given the really extreme nature of the things that are happening in this, you've got Hisoka just cutting up these fools, and I call them fools because it just feels so strange and silly to jump Hisoka, to go after Hisoka. Like, I'm not quite understanding how they possibly thought that this is a good idea, especially because they've seen him the year before. But that being said, the one guy said He didn't think that Hisoka is worthy of being a hunter, something along those lines. So I don't know, it just felt really strange to see these people, red shirts, essentially going after Hisoka. Unless, of course, down the line, there might be a component that is more of a, everyone for themselves type thing, and they might get matched up, maybe a one-on-one type situation. Maybe it's the opposite of my thought process at the moment. Maybe it's a bit more of, maybe it is a clever thing on their end to potentially take out someone as formidable as Hisoka. I mean, this dude almost feels OP, right? Even though there's a few moments. There's a few moments, a chink in the armor. I mean, he's not untouchable, but he's as close as it gets so far in this series. Gon landed that shot on him. And the thing is, the fishing rod actually really got his attention, didn't it? It got Hisoka's attention, so much so that he wanted to examine it. I believe he said something like, oh, let me have a look at that. Let me examine that. I just thought it was interesting that they actually devoted a few seconds of screen time to that. Him just asking about the fishing rod. And let me have a look at it. Let me have a closer look at it. But yeah, the fishing rod itself, the red thing, the I guess, I don't know, I almost called it a ruby. It's not a ruby, but it's like, is that meant to be something special? Am I missing something here? Maybe it is something special. But yeah, Gon landed a clean shot, scratched him up. And yeah, of course, Gon came to his rescue, to Leorio's rescue, who himself ran at first, but then came back. I mean, my goodness, of course, from the outside looking in, of course, that's silly for him to come back. Right? Kurapika is just baffled as, he looks back and he sees Leorio came back. He goes back to Hisoka. But of course, yet again, it shows us the type of person Leorio is. Leorio, sorry. Any notions of him being this materialistic, shallow individual that was set up earlier, right? If you go all the way back to episode 1, and then, the conversations that kind of take place since, yeah, I truly get to see the real Leorio at this point. And, the thing is, as Hisoka sees that shadow, at first I didn't understand that it's Leorio coming back. My initial thought was, oh, is that a clone of Hisoka? I don't know. I just saw that outline, and I just didn't think of Leorio. I guess, his suit jacket being tied around his waist kind of threw me off there. So of course, even though Leorio has been set up as the most human of the lot, he himself even stated that, right? I believe the line of dialogue was, before a human like me. And before that, he's going on about these monsters that are taking part in this test. So yeah, I think maybe he is the beating heart of this ensemble cast at this point. Yes, of course, Gon is extremely likable, really is. But there's something really interesting going on with Gon as well. But yeah, even though it wasn't really his fight, he still came back. He could not just run, right? So right there, you get a display of his strong character, right? The noble Leorio, even if it is a little bit silly, maybe even a little bit stupid. It is stupid to, come back into that situation. And, Kurapika knows that, of course, because Kurapika saw all of it play out from a distance, from a safe distance, right? And I don't really look at that as him abandoning his new friends, kind of watching from a distance. At the end of the day, he just met them, right? But beyond that, he's smart. He's smart, he knows. And Killua knew as well. You just kind of avoid this man. That this Hisoka fellow is not someone you really want to get tangled with. And the thing is, Kurapika is actually quite formidable or capable himself, right? Yet he felt that they immediately have to get out of here because nothing good's about to come out of going up against Hisoka. Though ultimately something good does come out of it, right? Yes, both Gon and Leorio. I mean, Leorio gets knocked out cold, though Hisoka carries him to the finishing point of phase 1 or the beginning stages of phase 2. Yeah, I guess something good kind of came out of it, that this might have happened sooner or later, but now, Hisoka knows about Gon and Leorio. He seems to have passed judgment on them, right? Acting as a judge or examiner. For a moment earlier in the episode, I even thought maybe he is, I don't know, an insider, right? But then the moment that transponder or tracker goes off, and of course the voice on the other end of it is altered, right, to protect someone's identity, and that someone appears to be the Pinhead, right? The one in the green, the robotic android looking thingy, right? He moves like an android. Even reminds me of one of the androids from Dragon Ball Z. So something interesting going on there. Someone that's clearly, I don't know, an associate of Hisoka. So you see that Hisoka and his partner came prepared, right? Transponders and all that. So yeah, interesting new plot point, intriguing plot point to add to Hisoka's storyline, or, the exam storyline as a whole. Allow me to go back to my thoughts about the swamp and the lack of blood and just that aspect of it, right? The residents of the swamp coming out to play. And, a few of them I've seen in the opening, right? The intro before the opening of the anime. These names are hilarious. Oh my God. The Frog in Waiting. You cannot beat that. You cannot top that. And I love that all of them actually kind of get caught up in it. Yes, they escape it. They're one of the few lucky ones to escape all of it. But yeah, Kurapika and Leorio get caught up and escape. And then you've got Killua and Gon getting caught up, getting swallowed. And then, of course, who comes clutch? Indirectly, Tonpa. Though, of course, Killua was, smart enough to keep some of those on him as well for perhaps a situation like this, right? Like I said, Killua has a killer instinct. I've got to say, you've got to give Tonpa a lot of respect for doing this for decades. And, they showcase him. They show him once again near the conclusion of the episode, ready, and he made it to that phase, to the next phase, right? As Satotes is looking at his watch. Yeah, man, props to Tonpa. Because you really do require quite a bit of skill to make it this far and perhaps even beyond, right? I'm not sure how far Tonpa usually makes it, but you do need skill. That's for damn sure, especially after seeing them drop like flies in this episode, right? There's people dying, So, some of them are maybe lucky enough to just get knocked out by the mushrooms or the butterflies, the hypnosis butterfly. Though, of course, if you are knocked out, you're kind of left open for an attack. And to finish off my point about the lack of blood, yeah, I don't know. I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood recently. I mean, right before this, essentially. That's also shonen, right? So that had blood. I mean, there's some really grisly moments, right? So it's interesting that this actually might be even more shonen than that. I mean, I say that, but, I've already kind of discussed how they've hinted at the dark nature of the world they live in, and just the tone in general, how it kind of snaps back and forth, the tonal dissonance. But, going back to Kurapika, kind of getting a read on the situation from a safe distance. Yeah, he seems to understand the situation quite a bit, right? He seems to have an understanding for the type of person Hisoka is. And, he felt that most likely Hisoka's instincts and experiences told him that you had skill and potential to become hunters. And this relates to both Gon and Leorio, right? So I love that for Leorio, right? Regardless of how you kind of perceive Hisoka, it's almost kind of like a sign-off. Because regardless of Kurapika's hesitation about Hisoka or his character specifically, right? And he didn't quite think, or he doesn't quite believe that Hisoka is really cut out to be a hunter. Or does he, truly qualify to be a hunter? Not because of the skill level. That's for damn sure. That's a given, right? He's got all the skill level. Hell, you see Kurapika is quite realistic about it. He seems to admire his skill set, right? He's going on about being impressed by his graceful technique. And yeah, he's got graceful technique, all right. And I think he mentioned superhuman agility. There appears to be this admiration for the skill-based elements of fellow hunters, right? That's something they can all kind of appreciate about each other. You see Hisoka is able to appreciate the qualities that both Gon and Leorio put on display. But see, as I say that, you see that Hisoka doesn't look at just the skill-based elements, because Leorio at that point, he just kind of rushes him a few times, right? He's impressed by his tenacity, right? He's impressed that he didn't run, that he did come back. He stood his ground, stood for his beliefs, right? That impressed Hisoka. And then for Gon, it was more of the same, plus some of the skill set that's on display. So some of the skill levels that are on display, he can just tell, he can see this is a special kid, I mean, that Hisoka and Gon encounter, it felt special. It did. You know, it felt like it's the beginning of some kind of journey that these two might have. Not together maybe, but, you know, they might have run-ins down the line. A few of them, perhaps, right? And they kind of set it up in the sense that he sees potential. He sees immense potential, right? And again, you know, it's applicable to Leorio as well. That's one of the reasons he doesn't kill him. And of course, you know, even though it's not in this official capacity, you know, getting that sign-off from someone like Hisoka, right? Who even Kurapika is able to kind of look at from a more objective stance in terms of, you know, skill level and presence. Yeah, you know, that's a damn good thing, I think. I mean, there's a lot of questions that come out of this. You know, why does Hisoka feel the need to judge the worthiness of other prospects, right? Is it as simple as a good challenge? I mean, at the end of the day, it is meant to be a battle shonen, right? Could it be just as simple as that? You know, I think there's a few things that kind of hint towards that. You know, in that sense, he even kind of reminds me of both Goku and Vegeta, right? How they used to approach things, how they used to relish a challenge, how they used to, you know, this right here really reminded me of Vegeta letting the second form of Cell transform into Perfect Cell. He lets him do it for the challenge because he thinks it's going to be a much tougher and challenging fight. So, you know, him kind of letting Gon go in that moment kind of felt like that a bit, didn't it? And then, of course, if you look at Goku, of course, Goku loves a challenge. He loves to go up against formidable opponents. You know, he just loves being a part of that exchange, the excitement of that change or exchange of energies, right? There's certainly a lot of those elements present in Hisoka as well. But going back to some of the questions I had about him, yeah, you know, perhaps it's as simple as just a good challenge, you know, kind of letting them grow into their final forms, you know, fully tap into that potential, grow into that potential. Or could it be for other purposes, right? You know, is he even potentially out here scouting for some of these special talents? And, you know, Kurapika actually mentioned something quite interesting, didn't he? I think he said something like, it's quite common that those possessing special talents are drawn to others with unique gifts, right? So, yeah, you know, I like how it's beginning to kind of get into the power system as well now, right? And how some of these special talents, unique gifts and all that, how they perceive each other. You see someone like Killua is able to pick up on the tension, the energy or the aura of Hisoka. You see Hisoka is able to do that with both Gon and Leorio as well. But I think Gon specifically, there's something there. Because a really interesting exchange happened between those two, right? And you see that it had quite the impact on Gon. It tapped into something for the first time. But yeah, you know, Gon's response to being nearly choked to death, right? And just that moment of facing him, coming across him, right? I think he said something like, I was pretty excited as well. And, you know, it's a quick moment, but Kurapika's reaction to that, I think it was like, huh? And, you know, of course, he's just a little bit baffled or confused by the end of that conversation. Of course, Gon's all, you know, smiles. But Kurapika's like, interesting, you know? So, of course, you know, I think I spoke of this. They're hinting at there being so much more to Gon than maybe just a typical shonen protagonist. There could be something there deeper inside that, you know, I am going to learn perhaps as these episodes go on. And then, of course, you know, people like Kurapika might kind of pick up on this as well and is picking up on this, that, you know, there's clearly much more going on there. I think, you know, he's going on about how he was so scared, but he wanted to run away, right? But I couldn't. You know, it's almost as if he was attracted to that situation, the energy of that situation. So I think at this point, you can at least infer that Gon is kind of attracted to the thrill of it all, right? A thrill junkie, perhaps an adrenaline junkie as well. So see, after this encounter, now I'm really quite excited to see his reactions to really specific moments from this point on, right? And again, given the nature of some of these specific moments is going to be interesting as well, and how he specifically reacts to them, right? And I feel like Kurapika is going to be essentially like us. He's going to be kind of reacting to Gon as well, or how Gon reacts to certain situations, right? Essentially, this is something Kurapika has noticed now. Something interesting about Gon. But let's shift the focus back to Hisoka. So it appears that he seeks out that potential, right? It excites him to see people flourish in that capacity. Listen, there's some really interesting things going on here in terms of his reactions to these moments. Honestly, the term or the thought that comes to mind is that he revels in the ecstasy of battle. It's almost as if things like determination, grit, fighting spirit, that bravado, the warrior spirit, right? It kind of does things for him. Listen, at one point it was beginning to feel like he maybe even gets aroused or gets some pleasure out of this, right? During combat. Again, I mentioned the exchange of energies and all that. So it feels like for him, it does quite a bit. I mean, at some points, it almost kind of sounds like he's moaning, isn't it? But as I am on the topic of his voice, I mean, again, standout. One of the standouts. It's such a great voice, isn't it? For that character specifically as well. Just gives him that mysterious edge. Gives him that creepy factor as well, doesn't it? It actually even kind of reminded me of Kimberly from Full Metal. Just a bit, just a tad bit. There's a few moments I was like, oh my God, it sounds like someone. And then, I realized, yes, Kimberly. Kimberly used to kind of sound like that. But yeah, one of the standout moments, of course, is him kind of seeing through Gon's surprise attack and choking him, grabbing him, right? Wow, it's quite a tense moment. He'll say things like, oh, I adore that look on your face. Oh, how wonderful. I really love that look. And, at one point, as he said it, he begins to blush, right? And this is right before he realizes he's about to kill the kid. He's about to kill Gon, and, immediately just lets go of him because he doesn't want that. And then, of course, he implores Gon to grow up and become a fine hunter, right? That's what he's hoping for, essentially. And like I mentioned earlier, I can totally see a run-in down the line, perhaps. And perhaps maybe even near the conclusion of this anime, a much older Gon, right? A fine hunter, perhaps by that point, going up against Hisoka once again. And I can just tell Hisoka is going to love that. But yeah, I've got to say, Hisoka, I'm a big fan. Big Hisoka enjoyer already. It's just, to me, it's a really exciting character. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. Up next, it appears to be perhaps phase 2, the beginning of phase 2. So of course, quite excited about that. But if you enjoyed this, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in timer-based full length, or perhaps even early access to the next few episodes right now, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel, right? If you're interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, right? Things like Twitter and Instagram. I'm usually a bit more active on Twitter. And listen, you can support the channel just by dropping a follow on Twitter. That helps. It does. It kind of helps me expand my reach, right? And of course, as a content creator, expanding your reach is always a good thing, right? In terms of opportunities as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 6. Until then, take it easy.